Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all identities, species, and more, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. And today's Doctor Who review is Arachnids in the UK. Now, as it's implied in the title of this episode, I would just like to put a little pre-warning in here. If you have really, and I mean really bad arachnophobia, I don't suggest proceeding any further in this video because this video is a lot about spiders. So, now that warning's out the way, without further ado, come on me old Chinas, let's get into another Doctor Who review. So, after being stranded on an alien planet, and then meeting Rosa Parks, the gang finally managed to get home. Ryan, Graham, and Yaz. The Doctor has shown them the universe, but evidently it was not their choice to go on the adventure in the first place, so the Doctor dropped them back off home. As the Doctor begins to say her goodbyes, she's not too sure or certain what she's going to do for the next few hours. Yaz offers her the chance to go to her place and meet her family, and the Doctor jumps at the opportunity. Meanwhile, Graham splits up from the group, especially after him already mourning the loss of his late wife, Grace. He finally wants to go home and think to himself. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Yaz's mum, Nadia, is on her first day to her job. She enters the building in hopes to speak with management, but little does she know that management are currently having a meeting in the main hall with a Mr. Jack Robertson. Nadia begins to investigate around the place, looking to see how the rooms are. When she walks in, she begins to realise that the rooms are absolutely trashed. Appalled by this, she goes to look for the management, and this is when things begin to change for her, all too quick. Jack Robertson, basically a guy based off of Donald Trump himself, is moaning at the runners of his hotel because the place is not a tip-top optimum. One of the people who owns partnership of the hotel, his niece, his girlfriend, is trying to explain to Mr. Robertson the fact that the hotel won't be ready yet because there are problems beneath the structure of the hotel. Robertson offers to pay her off in hopes that she will quicken up the process, and in doing so, she begins to protest, pointing out to him that things aren't as they exactly seem. But rather than him finding out exactly what's happened, instead, he begins to flaunt her over it and argue with her, pointing out that he believes she's the problem and that he can't get anything done when he asks for it to be done, regardless of the fact that the building is built on a landfill site. Nadia accidentally intrudes on this meeting and ends up getting fired by Mr. Robertson. Mr. Robertson not realizing that she is one of the members of new staff to the hotel, and now he has fired his only manager for the building. Back at the block, Ryan, the Doctor, and Yaz enter Yaz's flat. Yaz's dad offers to cook, as it's a special occasion and the family don't often get to see Yaz's best friends, or any of her friends at all. He begins to point out that he's going to cook them pakora, and Yaz sighs along with her sister, pointing out that he's horrible at pakora. The Doctor then notices a pile of rubbish in the corner and begins to ask what's going on, asking exactly why her parents would ever have a tip of rubbish. Yaz points out that her mum has asked him to chuck it out for ages, but he begins to point out that he keeps all the rubbish because it's part of a conspiracy, he says to the Doctor in a very cunning voice. The Doctor jumps for joy, knowing that she absolutely loves conspiracies, and this is perfect for her. Then he points out that there was a parcel, but it's gone to the neighbour and it's never arrived. He wonders whether the neighbour's not in, or whether they've disappeared, or there's an even bigger conspiracy behind it. And little does he know, he does have a point. So the Doctor, Yaz, and Ryan head over next door to investigate, and soon they find another dove. Training arachnid specialist, uni student, goes to meet her best friend. Her best friend living in the block next to Yaz's, being the neighbour. But she hasn't heard from her in days, and it makes her very confused in why she hasn't heard from her. The group go to investigate after the Doctor asks whether she's very, very concerned. So, when they break open the door, they are gobsmacked to find that Anna, her flatmate slash best friend, has been webbed on the bed and is lying dead in a cobweb cocoon. After investigating the flat further, the Doctor and her friends begin to realise that the spider that had killed her flatmate was still living in the flat. It was struggling to cope due to it not being naturally that size and its body having to amass to its expansive growth. The Doctor points out that whatever's happened to it is not natural. It is not naturally mutated, and this is affecting it. She also asks whether this is the first case that has ever happened. The reluctant trainee biologist soon points out that it's not the first case. Elsewhere, they are not the only ones to have come across this mutation. Graham has also come across it and is intrigued to find out exactly what's happening. Little apologies mid video. I just done a bit of research and realised that someone who studies arachnids is not a biologist. They are called an arachnologist. So apologies for that. But to continue with the story, so basically they go to this lab to investigate what is causing all of this franticness with the spiders. They don't find the solution, but they do find out that all the spiders in the city seem to be drawn to one spot. They all seem to go from the houses to a specific location, which once the Doctor begins to map out, realizes that the spider web on the map is pointing to a hotel in the middle of nowhere. Ironically, the hotel that they arrive at is the exact same hotel that Yaz's mum works at. This is a very big coincidence because they begin to have a tiff with Mr. Jack Robertson as he becomes agitated by the fact that they are all in the hotel. After a little bit of investigation, the group begin to realise that they are being cornered in. But at this point in time, Jack Robertson all believes that this is some graffiti stunt done by Nadia to demean him. But soon he will learn his lesson when he begins to go to the bathroom. Kevin, the bodyguard, assists Mr. Robertson to the toilet for his hourly toilet break. But during this interval, Mr. Robertson, as he begins to leave the bathroom, begins to hear a ticking noise. His bodyguard Kevin is grabbed by a giant spider and pulled through the bathtub as it emerges like a siren from the deep, slowly crawling out and taking its flight. Robertson darts out of the door and explains to the Doctor exactly what happened, and with the Doctor investigating, they all begin to dislodge themselves from the main facility in order to figure out exactly what's going on. Once they arrive in the kitchen, the Doctor funnily confuses Jack Robertson for Ed Sheeran, pointing out that everyone has heard about Ed Sheeran at that point in time. She then asks who he is, and he says, "I'm Jack Robertson. I'm a businessman." They point out that Jack Robertson in their universe is running against Donald Trump in the American election in hopes of beating him and stopping him from getting into power. History has an irony with that one, but besides that point, It's funny to think that you have a character such as Jack Robertson, who is very susceptible to his business ideals, that he doesn't begin to realize the consequences of his actions. After some thorough digging and a lot of investigating, the Doctor and a few of her friends begin to realize that the building is built on landfill. She begins to lecture Jack Robertson on who he buys his properties from, and points out that the spider carcasses that get transported there must have mutated beneath the epicenter of the building. The Doctor then begins to miraculously devise a plan in order to stop the giant spiders and hopefully arm them from attacking anyone else. First step of the plan involves Ryan. Ryan and Graham lure the spiders into a box and lock them in, using Stormzy's music as the instrumental part, as spiders are very susceptible to the sound of sound waves. The second part of the plan involves them meeting the giant queen of them all in hopes to be able to desterilize and humanely kill the creature. But, sadly for them, soon they'll realise Jack Robertson has other plans. When the first part of the plan is complete, the Doctor and her friends approach the giant spider, but before they can use the spider spray on it, they soon begin to realise that she is choking to death on her own air. Her body is too big, her consumption has outdone her, and she is not stabilising to the effects. Jack Robertson walks in and pelts a bunch of bullets into the spider, killing it dead, and the Doctor and the rest of the group are absolutely ashamed of him. Jack Robertson points out that he doesn't understand them. He doesn't understand why they wouldn't shoot a creature, put it out of its misery. And the Doctor points out the fact that every life matters, even that one. It should have deserved a humane death, regardless of what creature it was. Arachnids of the UK. What do I give it out of 10? Well, for a story that talks about how humanity should care for its planet better, and also the things that its actions leave behind as a consequence, it's a brilliant setup. I love the comparison between Robertson and Trump, and I love the comparison between the people in the lab and regular scientists. People make mistakes all the time, but sometimes their mistakes can become catastrophic, and it doesn't help their mistakes when other people try to hide and cover it up. In the beginning of this story, it is pointed out that Lucy, Mr. Robertson's niece's girlfriend, has been trying her best to find a solution to the problem, but she seems to have discovered the problem and pays the price. It's a sad cost to pay, but at the end of the day, it's a necessary evil in the sense that it teaches others to learn from their mistakes. And for that reason, I'm going to give Arachnids in the UK a solid 7 out of 10. I'd give it more, but I just feel like it's not on the level of Planet of Spiders, which is a brilliant story with John Pertwee and Elizabeth Sladen, where they both come face to face with this giant being from another planet. Basically, it's this spider from Earth that's been dropped on this planet, and this crystal, giving it magical abilities which enable it to control anyone it wants to. Apologies to everyone on the delay between videos. I just want to let you know I do have more Doctor Who reviews planned. I've currently got a audio pre-ordered to listen to before I go into detail with the next Doctor Who review. So keep yourself on the notifications because it could drop at any time. But there's this audio coming out in January, and I really look forward to diving into that because it's a whole other world to explore of Doctor Who. But other than that, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. and stay beautiful, you beautiful people.